Okay, did I get it right this time? Did I get it right this time? I started streaming on the One Piece channel by mistake, so if you caught that, you got 20 seconds of me looking super confused and sitting in silence like, what the fuck, where's my stream? Oh, there's an ad playing on the TV, great. Awesome. Oh man, why am I wearing this stupid jacket? It's way too hot for this shit. We're gonna do this unprofessional today. I don't give a fuck. Hey, Corey. Hey, Liam. Man, this is a long ad in the background. Can I get Frid on? He would be appropriate for this show. Yeah, that was a quick chapter review. I hope it's deleted now. What happens if I try to... No, I guess if I try to click on it, it's going to cast. So never mind. Yeah, this is what I wanted. Man, I look way more pale on the TV, huh? And now we gotta watch the ad again? Perfect. You run the One Piece channel? Oh, you thought it was my retarded twin? Yeah, I could see that. Jason, I hope you're doing well too. You forgot I was still a content creator? So did I for a little bit. But people are rolling in, so maybe we should start with the actual program. Hey everybody, welcome to The Depression Chamber, the only show on YouTube where anybody on Earth can anonymously submit their stories dealing with depression, anxiety, really any mental illness, bullies, family issues, any sort of life story that might be interesting and sad. They can submit them to TheDepressionChamber@gmail.com, and then we all come here together to enjoy their stories and take a good listen. We set our white asses down and we listen, and that's what we're here to do today. Confish, thank you for the $5. Now, over the years, I've collected many stories. We probably have over 200 unread story submissions. And I have not previewed any of them. I don't know where to begin. So we're going to do a poll to decide which story we read first. So stories. I'm going to give each of these a number, and you vote for which number you want. So, option number one is called, let's see, where did that one go? It was something funny. I feel like people are submitting real quick because they want to get in. Where did it go? Maybe I have to scroll down. Okay, option number one. Tranny gets pegged by life. Option number two. Trying to kill my dad, stalking a girl, and other heartbreaks. Option number three. An R-rated Charlie Brown story. And option number four. The Chronicles of My Abuse and Other Stories from a Tranny. Believe it or not, most of the stories, maybe not most, let's say hypothetically 41% of the stories I receive are from transgender people. Here's the poll. No, don't type it in chat. There's going to be a poll. I'm ignoring your stupid chats. We're going to see which one you vote for, and we'll see if I can even remember which one matched with which number. Let's get that music going. Hopefully you guys can hear the music okay. Okay, after 31 votes, number 2 is currently winning, which I believe was trying to kill my dad, stalking a girl, and other heartbreaks. Okay, that one is clearly winning with almost half the votes, so we're going to start off with that story. Yeah, this is 4chan, that's right. Based crafted curtain. Okay. I hope that the music is not too loud or too quiet, but I'm ignoring the chat to read this story. So, let's get into the first Depression Chamber story we've read all year. Trying to kill my dad, stalking a girl, and other heartbreaks. Wanting to kill my dad. I do not remember when I first started toying with the idea of killing my dad. This is really appropriate for Father's Day. I'm glad you guys voted for this. Thank you. Maybe I've been wanting to do it all my life ever since I was a little kid and just don't remember. I have memories that have not been confirmed by other family members of me saying things about murder and wanting to kill people ever since I was a little kid. In 7th grade, thoughts about murdering other people and my dad started to come into full bloom. I was bullied hard by both my dad and the kids at school, and have had my fair share of bad experiences that had happened to me before this. In my 8th grade English class, we did this thing where we'd write in our... there's a typo, I guess. We'd write in our about a question of the day and then share what we wrote with the class if we wanted to. The question of the day was, what is one thing wrong with our school? Sometimes our school would start later in the day than usual, so I wrote that on those days. It's dangerous because if there were a school shooter, then having a really late to school would give them extra time to prepare. I shared it with the class, and everyone was looking at me like I was a ticking time bomb that was about to go off at any minute. It was really embarrassing for me, and people still talk about it to this day. I was sent to the office and got suspended. I told my parents that I was just joking about the school shooting thing, and they didn't believe me. I was forced to talk to a psychiatrist who I tiptoed around my conversation with, and he declared me to be normal so I could start going back to school again. After that incident, it was constant tension in my house for 4 whole months. During this time, I tried to choke out my brother because he was on the computer when I wanted to be on it. I would threaten to kill members of my family whenever I got into any kind of argument or confrontation with them, which was very often. I was obsessed with serial killers and mass shooters and would talk about them all the time. I would walk around with a metal baseball bat, and once I fainted hitting my dad with it. Around this time, I discovered MGTOW and online misogyny. Okay. I was only in 8th grade at the time, and I don't remember having any particularly bad experiences with women, but for some reason I jumped on that bandwagon. I would talk about the sexist ideas I had to my family, and it would always spark an argument and result in me getting yelled at in front of my sister, mother, and younger brother. One day, all this tension finally imploded. I was in the kitchen, visibly mad because my brother was on the computer playing games when I wanted to be on there playing games. My dad noticed this and said, "Why are you so mad?" I tell him why, and he just gets mad at me and says something like, "Well, that's not my problem. You play games too much anyways. You need to go outside and go for a walk or something." I wasn't even being rude to him. He just blew up on me like that for no reason. We argue, and then I just say, "I'm done," and walk away to the living room to sit down. I thought that was me walking away from the conversation and letting him win the argument. But then, as I'm turned around and walking away, my dad just yells, "Done with what?" He goes on this tirade saying I'm the one who should be done here. But you don't see me complaining. I'm out in the backyard doing work, and I should be the one complaining, and here you are bothering me. I don't say anything as he goes away. Then he comes back and puts on this nice guy act. He's fake smiling and asks me how I'm doing as if that conversation 5 minutes ago didn't happen. I glare at him and says, "Why are you looking at me crazy?" He says, "Why are you looking at me crazy?" "I'm not," I say. I walk into the kitchen, and then he goes back in the kitchen too. I don't remember what, but he started saying some things to me that I didn't like, so I pull out my phone and say, "I'm recording this," which is something I'd do a lot back then as a passive-aggressive way of trying to get him to leave me alone. He walks up to me and takes my metal baseball bat that I'd been holding the entire time. Still keeping up the nice guy act, he says, "Why do you have this thing all the time? I'm taking this away." I hold up the phone camera to him, and he just blows up and yells in my face, "I'm your goddamn dad! Don't you fucking record me for people on the internet to see? These conversations are between me and you." And everybody in the chat. Finally, he says what he's always been wanting to say and tells me that I cannot be that father of this house with you acting like this. Now we can either take you to the nearest mental hospital to see what the fuck is wrong with you, or we can take you to a therapist. I thought I was cool and calmly said, therapist. I had to go outside and take a walk after that. When I came back, my mother told me that my father had told her what happened. She puts on this whole manipulative, whatever the fuck, show where she says melodramatic things like, when you were a kid, you wrote a card to your dad on Father's Day saying that he was the best dad ever. All I want to know is what happened to that little kid. She keeps probing me and interrogating me and asking me the same questions over and over again. She keeps asking me whether or not I have friends, implying that I don't, and asking other questions like that. Finally, my tough guy act breaks and I start crying and having a whole breakdown telling her all the terrible things he's done to me and how he's treated me horrible my whole life. She showed no emotion and said, he only did that to discipline you because that's what parents do. Years later, I asked my dad about all the times he insulted me and humiliated me and bullied me and hit me and yelled at me for no good reason. He admitted to all of it, basically saying that he did those things on purpose to toughen me up. So, there I am in the living room crying. My brother and sister are nearby in other rooms and they can hear everything. It's 11 at night. Then my dad comes down and his eyes are all red from tears. Mom walks away and then it's just me and him. I try confronting him about the things he's been doing to me, but he shoots me down. He gaslights me by repeating phrases like, wow, I had no idea you were so sensitive. And he gatekeeps by saying things like, my parents would drag us out in the front yard and whip us with a branch until our asses were bleeding, and I never hated them, and I never tried to kill them like you did, and I turned out just fine. He basically just does a bunch of other manipulative maneuvers like that, and even tries to make himself look like the victim by saying he has depression and blames that on the times he abused me. I can't verbally defend myself because I'm crying uncontrollably. Towards the end of our conversation, when he's had his way with everything, I tried to bring up, he starts acting like we actually came to a resolution and that it's all over. Meanwhile, I'm sitting there realizing that my life is fucked. I go to sleep after that, and woke up the next day and just had to go to school and carry on like normal. The only thing that changed from that incident was that I realized that I had to shut up about all this killing shit that I was talking about. That's a good idea. No more threatening, no more talking about school shooters, no more aggressive behavior. After a few months, the tension was gone, but we all remembered what happened, and now there is this awkwardness among the entire family that has never gone away to this day. Every time I was in the same room as a family member, I felt like I might as well have been walking around with no clothes on because of how humiliated I felt. Remorseful, no. Embarrassed, yes. And as for my misogyny problem, I just kind of grew out of that after a few months. All those videos talking trash about women eventually got boring, and I took a break from it for about a month. When I tried to get back into it, I realized that all the things those guys in the MGTOW videos were saying had no logic or proof behind any of it. My dad didn't change. He wasn't freaked out about me wanting to murder him, but he was still as big of a jerk as he was before this whole thing. He would yell at me and insult me in front of the family just like normal. I thought that my dad would be scared of bullying me now after me threatening to kill him. If anything, I think he decided to bully me even harder to trying and keep me in check and stomp out my spirit to fight back against him. And then we have a new subcategory, getting bullied. There was this kid in my school who bullied me in 7th and 8th grade and a little bit of 9th grade called Chevy. In the middle of 9th grade, I started biting back and bullying him, and we would be mean to each other. At some point, he stops trying to bully me. I think he's realized that he was being a jerk to people and was trying to change, but I didn't get the memo and kept up the pace and continued to be mean to him. So now I was revenge bullying him, though there were always times when he was mean to me, so he wasn't just a straight-up victim all the time. One day, he's in a bad mood, and I'm bothering him during lunch while we're walking with a bunch of his other friends and some people that I thought were my friends. We are arguing, and he's getting more and more mad, and one thing leads to another, and spit on his shirt, and he pushes me into a locker and punches me in the stomach. Now everyone is looking at me in this crowded hall, and everyone has gone silent. Strangers and people that I know. He yells at me, "Get the fuck out of here!" I say, "No." He walks away with his friends. I walk away from the scene too, feeling humiliated. At the end of the school day, my best friend Eli, okay, that's suspicious. Best friend Eli, I've heard that one before, is on the bus with me, and he tells me that he heard what happened and tries to make me feel better. I'm acting like a fool, just smiling and trying to act unaffected by it with a bunch of talk. When we get off the bus, Chevy walks by, and I punch him in the temple. I run away and start laughing and saying "World Star" to try to make it not look so bad that I'm running away. Chevy sees me running away and capitalizes on that and tries acting like a tough guy and yells, "God damn it, get the fuck back here!" He starts chasing me and I run away. I look behind me after 5 seconds and he stopped chasing me and is walking away and crying his eyes out. Before I carry on with this plotline, I need to tell you about this kid named Jay. I first met Jay in one of my classes. I looked at him and just had the instinctual thought that he was a bully. Then he comes up to me for no reason and offers to shake my hand. I shake his hand and think that he must be a nice guy or whatever, and he's pretending to be all nice and stuff. After a few days, me and this guy start entering the awkward beginning stages of a friendship where you're just starting to get to know the other person. One day we're in class and I'm doing my work when all of a sudden Jay claps both his hands on my ears. Yeah, that sucks. It hurts and my ears are ringing. He laughs and goes back to his seat and smiles like it's all just one big joke. Instead of being honest about my feelings and telling the teacher or letting him know that it wasn't cool, I get passive-aggressive and try to go along with it. I get up and try to do the same thing to him, but he gets up and grabs my hands to prevent me from doing the same thing to him that he did to me, and we get into a shoving match like two 5-year-olds. He's a lot bigger and stronger than me and pushes me back easily. I tell him to let me do the same thing to him, and he yells at me, "No," and his face gets all serious, and I can't tell if he's being serious or not. I make a joke and lighten the mood, and he instantly starts smiling again and lets go of me. I sit down and realize that I wasn't okay with what just happened. The next time he tries to talk to me, I diss him and roast him and tell him to get away from me, and that he's annoying. Oddly, when I started acting like that around him, he tried talking to me more now than ever before. I'd shoot him down every time he tried to talk to me, of course. I think he knew he was being a jerk and he knew what he did to make me upset, but he decided to play dumb. Then he started bullying me. He would make quick, snappy roasts towards me whenever he could, and also be laughing and smiling every time he did to make it seem like a joke. Some days he'd be mean and try to put me down. Other days, he'd try saying hi or try to strike up a conversation with me as if he hadn't just been antagonizing me the day before and I'd shoot him down. I was only ever being rude to him when he approached me, and I was just trying to get him away from me. Okay, folks, just to be clear, this story looks like we're about 1/4 of the way through, and I've seen a few people in the chat maybe not digging it. So you guys want me to keep going? Let me know yes or no. We can go on to a different one, because this one's very long. Keep going? Yes? Okay, they want us to keep going. But we got some no's. We got please end it. you know? Read the last 25%. Let's see if I'll go to the stalking part. But ooh, there's a section called Trying to Get Revenge. That could be funny. Let's see if Trying to Get Revenge picks it up. And even that's not even halfway through the story. Okay, after the drama I had just been in, I had decided that I was going to learn how to fight and beat up Jay and Chevy. I already tried verbal confrontations and cheap talk to try and get revenge, and look where that got me. After that school year ended, I tried to kill my dad during the summer. Okay, I'm glad we skipped ahead. I was hiding up against the wall next to the door of my parents' room. I had a clown mask on and the same metal baseball bat as before. They were both in there watching TV. Clown mask? Do we believe this? I mean, I guess technically we don't have to believe any of these stories, do we? There's no proof for any of them, I don't think. I literally kicked the door open. There was 4 seconds of silence. My mom and dad were both staring at me. My mom says my dad's name, and I raise the bat and start walking towards my dad. My mom screams. I'm literally halfway there to him and have the full intention of hitting him and killing him. And then I just chicken out. I take the mask off and put the bat down and smile and say, I'm just kidding. I'm not a good liar or a good actor, but in that moment I gave a pretty convincing performance. I'm positive my parents weren't really buying it though, but they acted like they did. My mom started yelling at me to not joke like that. My dad was just sitting there silently. Even when I was walking up to him with the bat, he was just lying on the bed staring at me. I have no idea what might have been going through his head, but he didn't look comfortable. I tried to kill him again and again after. I mean, what do you mean again? That wasn't even one attempt. You pussied out. I would be in the same room as my dad and be hiding the bat behind a couch or a wall or something and tried to mentally convince myself to just do it already, but I couldn't because I was too scared. I must have tried like 5 times to work up the courage to hit my dad over the head with the bat, and I never could. I had completely accepted that I would go to prison and was ready to kill my dad and possibly fight him in order to do it. But I always chickened out before I could. I realized that this problem would prevent me from ever getting to fight Jay and Chevy, and my goal of killing my dad would never happen. Out of desperation, I looked up on the internet how to deal with fear and stressful situations. I discovered a book called Fear, the Friend of Exceptional People. I pirated a PDF of it, and it was just what the doctor ordered. The book gave me all this useful advice on how to overcome fear and do things that are scary, like fighting. 10th grade year started and I had a book telling me how to overcome fear of fighting, but now I actually had to learn how to fight. I would ask my dad to sign me up for boxing, but every time I did, he would look really nervous and say no. It was obvious that he was scared that I would learn how to fight and then beat him up or possibly kill him. I wonder why that might be on his mind. Luckily for me, the solution finally came. My new friends that I would hang out with all the time now were 2 fat guys that I was in the middle school band with, Jacob and Miles. We would hang out at a park every lunch period. One day, while we were walking, Miles was talking about going bodies with people. I impulsively, and as a joke, said I should go bodies with Miles too? What? Is this an expression I don't know? Go bodies with someone? Miles asked me if I was serious. In that moment, I realized that that was actually a very good idea, because going bodies is exactly what I should do according to the book Fear, the Friend of Exceptional People. Start with doing something low intensity that's scary for you and progress from there until you get into a real fight without chickening out. So I go bodies with him in the park and I'm terrible at it. I also go bodies with Jacob. They both beat me every time. Bodies is play fighting. Okay, thank you, chat. But it's fun and we do it every day at lunch, and after a week or two I start beating them and I realize I have a knack for improving at fighting. Jacob and Miles thought it was really funny how I was going bodies with them since they thought I was a soft kid. There was this huge Samoan dude who went to our high school, and he was known for getting into fights, and he did a lot of boxing in middle school for 2 years. Jacob and Miles asked me if I would go bodies with anyone. I said yes. They asked me if I'd go bodies with the Samoan guy. I said yes. They go up to him after school and challenge him for me. He just brushes it off, not being sure if I'm serious or not. The next day, I'm walking through the halls with my friends, and this guy comes up to me and asks if I was being serious about going bodies with him. I said yes. He said he wasn't going to do it because he was so much bigger than me and he didn't want to hurt me. However, one of his friends was close by and heard this and said he'd go bodies with me. We'd go to a bathroom to do it, and the Samoan guy is really popular, so the bathroom is filled to the brim with the kids in his friend group. Uh-oh. I could beat Jacob and Miles in bodies, so I thought I was pretty good. However, this kid actually did boxing and knew how to throw a legitimate punch. The match starts and he starts throwing punches that actually hurt for real. They feel way different than the ones I got hit from by Jacob and Miles. I literally only managed to hit him once. It was bad and embarrassing, and a whole horde of kids was there to see it. They gave me a lot of heat for it and made fun of me for it a lot. The guy I went bodies with was actually a really good guy and was nice to me about it. Some guys kind of congratulated me because they thought I wouldn't do it. News of me going bodies with this kid starts gaining some traction, and now people start talking about it a lot. A tall white boy, Nick... What? A tall white boy, Nick? Nicknamed, okay. He has it very weirdly formatted. A tall white boy nicknamed Corn Nut heard about me going bodies, and now that he wanted to go bodies with me too. We did it, and I thought it was a tie, but my friend who saw it said I won. So now me and this Corn Nut guy were friends. There were also these 2 black dudes who went to my school. Hey, happy Juneteenth, everybody. Their names were DJ and Dario. DJ was cool, but Dario was a jerk. Me and Dario, I have to imagine Dario is just a black skin Mario, right? Me and Dario had beef and agreed to go bodies, but he would always find ways to fuck it up every time. Me, Dario, DJ, and a friend of mine named Hayden decided to hang out at his house after school and shoot each other with BB guns. The topic of me and Dario's beef was brought up, and we decided then and there to go bodies with each other right in the middle of the street like a couple of idiots. I was really nervous to go, but I'm so sick of reading him say go bodies. It's so stupid. I was really nervous to go bodies with Dario because he was an expert trash talker, and I was expecting a real challenge from him because he was always talking about the fights he'd been in and how he was gonna beat my ass and stuff. We go bodies, and he couldn't hit me once. I started wailing on him for a few seconds, and then he started running away and was like, okay, stop. So I had won, but decided not to be a jerk about it and be nice to him and stuff. DJ thought that was hilarious because he hated Dario. DJ said he wanted to go bodies with me next, and we did, and he basically wrecked me because he's a lot bigger than Dario and actually can fight. So now I was friends with both Dario and DJ. This is like a weird anime story where he gets in a fight with somebody and then they become friends. It's like every arc of Naruto. The Samoan dude had heard about me going bodies with all these guys. I mean, is that really something you want to brag about? I've gone bodies with the most men. And decided that I was tough enough to go bodies with him. He asked me if I wanted to, and I said yes. I thought this was a story about murdering his dad, and now it's like a whole fucking training arc of him becoming a professional bodies-ist. I knew I was gonna lose to him, but I told myself I had to because I knew I was afraid of it, and I had to do it so that I could overcome my fear of fighting. He would be the biggest stepping stone yet. He tells all his friends about it, and now once again there's a huge crowd of kids with their phones out recording in a bathroom, ready to watch me go bodies. He lets me punch him for the first 10 seconds, then starts throwing the hardest punches I've ever felt in my life, and I get stuck in a corner. He's surprisingly fast for a guy his size, and I can't even move to punch him. And I didn't think about trying to use footwork to get out of the corner, so I just stayed there and got punched for like 30 seconds. I literally refuse to give up despite this, so he stops punching and says, "Aight, that's it," and everyone is freaking out over what they just saw. They all think it's hilarious or just crazy in general. It was embarrassing, but one random guy came up to me and said, "I actually respect that, and that meant a lot to me." The size difference between me and the Samoan guy was night and day, so no one took the fight seriously. The Samoan dude was nice to me about it, and I think he might have felt bad about it a little because he came up to me and was like, "Aye, you took those punches like a G." DJ was there to see it, and me and him had walked out of the bathroom together and were walking down the hallways, and DJ sees Jay. DJ goes up to Jay and tells him if he wants to see the video of me and the Samoan dude go bodies. I can just tell that Jay doesn't like what he's hearing. I can tell he's nervous. He knew he has always been a jerk to me and that I didn't like him, and now he's hearing that I just went bodies with this guy. Jay just said he didn't want to see the video and walked away. I knew that Chevy was still saying bad things about me behind my back. Someone came up to me and told me that Chevy told him about me punching him and then running away, and that was the last straw. I decided that not doing something now is the same as not doing it ever. Chevy, he had started taking a different bus, but the bus was taking right now was just running distance away from mine. My plan was that after my bus had dropped me off, I would take a light sprint over to where his bus stop is, and while he's walking to his apartment complex, I'll come out and beat him up. One day I run over to where his bus stop is and wait for him. I see his bus drive by, and then a few minutes later, here he comes walking down to his apartment complex. I look around and people are everywhere. It's broad daylight and I'm scared of the police. I watch him walk into his apartment complex parking lot, and then I walk away. I tell myself that tomorrow I'll do it. Tomorrow comes, and before the buses come to take us from school, the Samoan guy comes up to me and tells me that Chevy told him all about how I'm stalking him and how I followed him home and how Chevy says he's gonna beat my ass. I asked him, "Chevy thinks he can beat me?" And he says, "Yeah." I run over to his bus stop after I'm dropped off. His bus comes by and he never shows up. The next day I wake up early. Mike Tyson said that before his fights, he would always eat a candy bar and a glass of orange juice for the sugar rush. So that morning, all I ate was a Pop-Tart. I shadow boxed in my house, then put on my clothes and backpack and ran over to his apartment complex. My plan was to wait for him to come out, beat him up, stomp on his head a few times so that I would bruise his face, take my backpack and make a quick turn to my bus, tell everyone at school about it. Okay, could have used an "and" in that sentence, but that's fine. Also, make sure to, after that, to avoid any kind of verbal confrontation or talking to him or any of his friends again. And if he wants to talk trash or anything like that, then so be it. I would just have to avoid any kind of political battle at all costs because that's my weak point. I go and hide behind a tree next to the driveway entrance to the apartment complex parking lot, and Chevy finally comes out. I was 5'3" and 130 pounds at the time. Chevy was over 6 feet and really fat, and I still beat him in our fight. Okay, maybe this story is fake. I never knocked him out, but I came close and was getting more punches in, and towards the end I could feel him trying to get away from me every time I tried to get close to punch him. Then I hear adults screaming, and I look to see his parents running over to where we are and stop fighting. His parents don't call the cops on me, but they yell at me and shoo me out. I apologize to them, and they make me and Chevy apologize to each other. Chevy admitted that he was being a bully to me all throughout middle school and said he was sorry for that, but I could tell he wasn't being sincere. Me and Chevy didn't become friends after this, but he did act overly nice every time he was around me and would say hi to me in the halls, and I'd return the favor, and that was it. And now things were going better for me. Me, DJ, Dario, Miles, Jacob, Cornnut, and my new best friend Hayden would hang out with each other every day. There was also a kid who went to my same seminary class, and we would ditch it together and hang out during that time. So now I actually had friends and had gotten better at fighting just by going bodies. No boxing classes at all. And that's the end of that sub story. The next one is called Being Manipulated. Before we go on, though, I think we should reflect on that great anime arc we just concluded. You know, it goes from incel with rage, virgin with rage, no friends, to starts picking fights in the bathroom. You know, maybe that's the secret. Just start punching people and you can make friends like Naruto. Cornnut was a bad dude. And thank you for the super chats. I will read them after this story. But the next subsection is being manipulated. Oh boy. I beat Chevy, but honestly, I felt like the fight was really close. I asked my dad to sign me up for boxing again, and this time he actually agrees as long as I'm able to pass all my classes for the second quarter of school. I start actually trying in my classes, and all of them go well until something happened in my history class. We got a new seating chart. Jay walks into the classroom on that day, now being a new student in the class. We go to our new seats. I'm sitting right next to Jay. This makes me feel uncomfortable, and I start feeling adrenaline. There's a girl who I didn't even knew existed until now sitting in front of me. She turns around and looks at me. I turn my head and look away before she turns her head completely to social interaction. She says hi. I don't want to be rude, so I say hi back. Then she asks me, "Are you okay?" Do you know that thing that happens sometimes when a stranger thinks you're upset, so they ask you what's wrong, and you saying nothing is wrong, and then they don't take no for answer, and they keep bothering you, asking you what's wrong over and over again? Well, that's exactly what she did. Everyone started turning around and looking at me, including Jay, because this girl keeps asking me what's wrong because I look upset, and she won't stop asking. I felt embarrassed to have this girl talking to me like she's my mom, and everyone is watching it. I swear she must have asked me, "Are you okay?" 10 times. I eventually realized that there's no end in sight and just shut down. I look away from her and stop talking altogether. She asks me what's wrong again, and I don't respond. She then realizes what's going on and says, "Oh, did I overstep? I'm sorry." I say nothing, and she turns around and leaves me alone for the rest of class, and she only talks again when talking to Jay. Every day she comes into class and sits down and says hi to me. I don't want to be mean to a woman because after going through that phase where I was into that stupid MGTOW stuff, I felt really guilty and didn't want to be disrespectful to a woman in any way whatsoever. Also, I was being paranoid of starting any kind of beef with other people after the whole drama I had with Chevy, so I was just trying to be the quiet guy who was polite to everyone and minded his own business. So when she says hi to me, I say hi back. One day, she comes in and says, "Hi, my name." I guess that's the insert for his name. I ask her how she knew my name. She says, "Because I saw your video of you going bodies with that one guy." Then she adds, "Yeah, there's no creepy stalker stuff going on." As a joke, clearly trying to open up for conversation, but I just say okay and that's it. It was obvious to me, her, and everyone around us that I wasn't interested in talking to her. She stops her usual routine of saying hi to me after a while, and I feel relieved because I think that she finally realized that she was getting nowhere with me and gave up on me. I was never rude to her. I gave one-word sentences and refused to go into any conversation with her because I wasn't interested in her. I was the bare minimum amount of politeness to not get her hopes up and also not be mean. I just wanted to be left alone and do my schoolwork so I could pass this class to get into a boxing gym and get one step closer to beating my dad to death. That's still on the agenda? Come on. One day I come into the classroom smiling because one of my friends told me a joke. I sit down and she says, "Oh my God, he's actually smiling." Jay jumps in and says, "He's smiling." And she's just like, "Oh my God." It's pretty obvious what she was trying to imply. I was honestly surprised when she said that. She actually was holding a grudge against me for rejecting her down after all. I look at the girl and give a face that just says, "What the heck?" She looks at me with a frozen smile on her face and says, "I'm just saying." She turns around and I scoot my desk back away from her. She turns around and looks at my desk and she's looking all sad. Jay says, "He doesn't like you," trying to make light of me. She says, "I don't care if he doesn't like me because other people like me." So now she's trying to make me look like the bad guy for standing up for myself against her passive-aggressive attack. She's been trying to act nice to me up until this point. However, she says something out loud for the class to hear about me to make me look bad and brings Jay in along to help her. Then she tries guilt-tripping me when I try standing up for myself. But at the time, I actually fell for her gaslighting. There's the G word, folks. Famous G word. The next Trash Rats is literally coming out tomorrow. Stay tuned. I'm not kidding. It's literally coming out tomorrow. I thought that maybe she wasn't really trying to be rude by saying that, and now I feel guilty, especially because I tried to make goal to never be rude or disrespectful to any woman ever. But I know that this altercation was passive-aggressive because Jay was trying to act all friendly around me too when he added into the conversation. But just the day before, he tried to come at me again. I was sitting in class, literally not doing anything, and he turns over to me and says something like, "Sup," or whatever, and he tried to say it like a tough guy or something. I ignored him, and he said in a sarcastic tone, "How's your high school year been so far?" Like, I literally don't even do anything. So he was just trying to start an argument because he didn't like me. But now all of a sudden he acts like we're friends and acts like he's just making a joke by saying, "Oh wow, he's actually smiling." Also, Jay had always been wanting for an opportunity to get back at me for not liking him in 9th grade. During the start of 10th grade, I was walking the halls with one of my old friends who had chosen Chevy over me during the beef came up to me. I decided I wanted to cut him off because I felt he wasn't a good friend. He said hi to me but held out his hand as if to try and still be my friend. I didn't say anything and walked away. Jay was there and he said loudly, "Why are you so rude?" trying to make me look like the bad guy. This story's getting awfully repetitive. Awfully repetitive. Okay, I'm gonna scroll down a little bit. I should have just moved to a different seat, but for some reason I didn't. My main goal right now is still to beat up Jay. I think I'm slick and come up with a plan of pretending that I'm his friend, or at least friendly with him, and then I'll beat him up when he least expects it. Pretty terrible plan. Jay's a class clown and always cracks jokes that no one laughs at and repeats them, and still no one will laugh. I fake laugh at one of his jokes one day. My plan was that he'd see it and start to think I wasn't a threat anymore. Phase 1 in my master plan. Well, that plan went down the toilet in 5 seconds because he points at me and says, "Gotcha." The girl in front turns around to see what Jay's talking about. Now they're both laughing because he actually laughed, and they start fake laughing as if it's hysterical to try and belittle me. Jay literally starts saying, "I can't breathe," over and over again, but some should tell this moron that when people say that they can't breathe when they're laughing, that's because they literally can't breathe because they're laughing so hard. Jay was just faking laughing and was breathing just fine and wasn't even laughing that hard. He can still breathe, but for some reason, this is like fucking Young Sheldon wrote a story. Come on, dude. He could still breathe, but for some reason he was just saying that he couldn't.
It was weird. He was probably just saying that to make me feel as bad as much as possible. The girl is laughing it up as well, and she says sorry while she's still laughing, but that doesn't mean much of anything, just more passive aggression, and saying sorry was her cover-up.
She already did what she did to try and take petty revenge on me while also getting my attention. I feel okay, can we get to the murder? I'm gonna go back, I'm gonna keep scrolling until I see something about killing his dad, because this shit is just getting absurd. Oh, God. Okay, no, God, this story just never fucking ends. Okay, I'm gonna just skip to the end of this section. Finally, one day, I'm in class and the gay guy sees me and tells me he loves me. Wow, what did we miss? I glance up at him when he's not looking. I look back down and hear the girl say, "He just gave you a dirty-ass look," and she laughs. Later on in that same day in class, we have a group assignment and the kids move around to other desks to sit with their group. So this girl gets up and walks to join the gay guy and some other loser. Then I hear her say my name. I can't exactly recognize her voice, so I don't know for sure if it's her. I keep my head down and pretend to not hear that, thinking that maybe it's not important. I hear her say my name again. It's loud in the classroom, and God, this dude just needs to fucking get to his point. I'm skipping the whole thing. Oh, great. As for my dad, I no longer wanted to kill him. Okay, thanks for wasting our fucking time. Scroll down more. I masturbate to the thought of her. I have more dreams about her. Should we move on to a new story, guys? Or you really want to hear another 10 hours of this fucking horse shit? Fuck, I'm getting tongue-tied now. Can we move on? We've been on this guy's dog shit story for 40 minutes. It's so fucking long. I'm putting my foot down. I'm done. Your story sucks. You suck. Here's the advice. KYS. Let's move on. Ooh, let's hear a story from somebody in Russia. I think that might be interesting. Retarded story from a retarded Russian. There we go. Oh, but I do gotta read these super chats, especially if I'm getting, what, $25? God damn. Okay. Tip history. Is that where I want to go? What's today's date? 19th. Please let me be your editor. Last you streamed, my bitch ex-girlfriend wasn't addicted to BBC. Okay, thanks, Froggo. These are like all from Froggo. The last time, okay, he said that, help the gang stalkers, they're here. This story is really homosexual. It makes me want to kiss me. Deranged Ape says, you make the best content and the best backlog. Babes, currently listening to Boomer vs. Zoomer. Hopefully, Ask Coke Cocknose makes something you eventually. And then Deranged Ape again. This is all for all the sad boys here. Even as a 6'1" with 10% body fat, percented tatted boy, I got rejected by a girl who weighed 20 more pounds than me. So don't make excuses, and God forbid you get in the friend zone or start fantasizing about them. Ghost of Growly with a big $25 donation. Thank you. He says, shameless bribe for the Nuzlocke. I'll do another 25 if you manage to beat Cynthia and the Elite Four. Yeah, good luck. Not good luck with me doing the Nuzlocke, but good luck with me winning. Yeah, right. Cynthia is hard even when you're not doing a challenge. For some reason, these super chats are dated as tomorrow, so I guess these are not official Juneteenth super chats. Confish said hi. Thank you, Confish. I'm watching videos. Says, how backed up are you with Depression Chambers? Any point in sending my story? Yeah, I skip around all the time. You can send in a story whenever you want. Yi Marie says, all you need to take Mr. Girl's advice, seek therapy. Mako Horror Show says, some ghoul named Gokanaru keeps extorting me via super chats. Can I save myself or should I just move to Louisiana already? I'm watching videos. Says, everything in the story just makes me want to DoorDash out for cheap ghetto food. How did this story make you feel that? Mako says, Ayo, I dead ass just went bodies. McSweats says, I sent my story but deleted it because I'm not depressed anymore, but it's interesting, so I might send it again if you'll read it. Sure, yeah, send it in. KK says, hey Mumkey, how can I give you money without giving any Chancellor Susan? There's a link in the description of the stream where you can donate directly to my PayPal, and you don't have to super chat, but that is plenty. You don't have to give any more than $5. That's fine. Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Now let's move on to this Russian story. If I can find where the chat was. Oh yeah, Russian story. Hopefully this actually has to do with what's been going on lately, but we'll see. Hey Mumkey, have been a fan for about a year now. Your videos have helped me a lot. Thank you, I sincerely mean it. I'm 18 and will be graduating soon. I live in Russia, although I'm not exactly Russian, but an Udmurt, relatively small Finno-Ugric ethnicity. Literally never heard of that, okay. And as you may imagine, life has been rough for the last few months. I must say, however, that I've been willing to write long before the well-known events post-February 24th. By the way, sorry for some grammar and spelling errors that I may make throughout the email. For you to get the full context, I'll get through a quick recap of my life up until my late teens, and then I will get to the main narrative. I was born in Udmurtia, or Unmurtia, I don't know, and lived a relatively normal life up until 2015. My parents divorced, and let me tell you, it was a bloody and horrific divorce. My mom was breaking down every single day and lashed out on me, while my dad started distancing himself from us. He found a new woman and all, so I guess it's kind of understandable. Even though we were pretty close up until that point, while the divorce was going on, my mom and my sister moved to my mom's parents in Moscow. First few years there were tough. I couldn't make any friends, and I stopped talking to my best friends from Udmurtia in order to stop hurting myself by remembering my old life there. Eventually, I made a small group of friends in Moscow, and for a few years everything was great, although my mom and my granddad were fighting regularly, and it often went overboard. But in 2019, everything collapsed. I started feeling depressed, angsty, and lonely. I was 15 after all. As a result, I distanced myself from my new friend group, and when I wanted to make amends, it was too late. I used to blame them a lot, but as years passed, I started to understand that it was mainly my fault. I think it also coincided with me being woke and a total lib at the time, which made me distance myself from my problematic friends. It's so fucking embarrassing to think about it now. I became severely depressed and even more lonely than before. At the beginning of the 9th grade, I started self-harming, even though I still don't quite understand why the hell I was doing that. It didn't help me mentally at all. I guess I just wanted attention or something. I started having suicidal thoughts, but I just couldn't go through with it. After all, I was too much of a coward to take my own life. Then the COVID lockdown happened. I was incredibly happy, because now I didn't have to go to school and see my ex-friends. At the summer of 2020, I visited my hometown for the first time in 5 years. I reconnected with my old friends, and we are still in contact to this day. They are genuinely the closest people in my life. 10th grade went okay. At the beginning of the school year, I tried to put on a mask of a confident and cool Chad-type guy, even though I was severely malnourished and non-muscular at all. I even tried to start dating my crush of 5 years, but then Russia had another lockdown and I started shutting in again, and the rest of 10th grade was nothing special. I, just like everyone at my age, was totally aimless and suffered from an over-ambition. I was always taught that I was destined for greater things, but then reality hit and I quickly understood that I'm nothing special at all. My family lost a lot of money in an estate-related scam, so they couldn't afford to send me to a prestigious university. At that time, my mother started breaking down and lashing down on me more and more to the point that it was almost unbearable. She is a total mental fuck-up and even tried to commit suicide after the divorce. Throughout my 11th grade, my mental state deteriorated in part thanks to the upcoming exams, and then February 24th hit. Even though I am a conservative, I could not bear the situation going on in my country, and now I feel like I was robbed of my future. As of the time I'm writing this, my exams are about to start in a few days. I have no fucking idea where to go next. I'm socially inept and have no idea how I'm going to live if I won't be able to study in a different city from my friends. I wanted to write a more detailed story, but just as I was about to come up with something from my past, I just couldn't. My memory is totally fucked. Sorry that you had to read through this mess. Say hi to Biggs. And that is the Russian story. Not really a whole lot there. I was hoping to learn more about what life in Russia is like after Putin's big dick maneuver, but I guess not. Conservatard. Yeah, we're on story 2. It just ended. So we're going to find story 3, and I'm going to let you guys vote again based on the titles. So I'm going to do a poll. I'll do 3 options this time so I don't accidentally forget which story is which. Okay, option number 1. A gay Christmas story. Option number 2. A story about my middle school crush, a shitty movie, and being unable to move on. Option 3. Schizophrenia, trauma, psych ward. I'll try to keep it short. Okay. I posted the poll. Let's see who wins. You paid me $10 to read something? I'll have to check the, I haven't seen the donations. I'll check. Oh, there's Flowey. Okay. What does he say? Flowey said, here's $10 to read my story that I just sent in. Same name on the email, asking you to read it. Either the bravest or the most foolish thing I'll ever do. I'll read it after whoever the poll votes for. I'll read it next. It's titled, I'm the Milkman. Okay. Froggo says, yeah, I go bodies. Cuts to the mutilated, half-eaten dead hookers in my fridge. Okay. Twizzy Empire says that first story was the J.R.R. Tolkien of Depression Chamber. Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty long. Number 3 is winning by far, which I believe was the Schizophrenia story. And yeah, this one is kind of short, so good. We need more short stories. Those long ones, you can get really unlucky with them. Okay, this is Schizophrenia, Trauma, Psych Ward. I'll try to keep it short. And he sent it in with his real email, his actual name. Interesting. You can be anonymous, people. You don't gotta do it with your business emails or nothing. Okay, I should stop laughing because this story starts off pretty dark. I'm 19. I was sexually assaulted at 11 years old and a second time in college at 18. I was groomed online by a female when I was 16. I have self-harmed physically and psychologically. I have had a hanging suicide attempt and wasn't able to bring myself to do it. Bullied most of my schooling up until around 10th grade when I became a hard ass and built a rudeness and cynicism that I used to hurt people's feelings as a defense mechanism. I've been smoking weed excessively since I was about 15. I almost felt myself succumbing to the cycle of sexual abuse, and I had a complete mental breakdown around 2 months ago after a crazy bad acid trip that ended in me believing my father was going to kill me and my mother, and then himself because of lots of delusions that I was believing at the time. I was taken into police custody where I was placed in psychological evaluation at a hospital and then institutionalized in a psych ward. This place is full of staff that don't help, gaslight, and question the validity of your emotions. I left with more trauma than I did coming in. It was like a concentration camp. Here's another survivor's story that paints a pretty good picture of what the place is like. And he links me to some Reddit post. I've been diagnosed with schizoaffective disorder bipolar subtype, which is schizophrenia delusions, paranoia, psychosis, hallucinations mixed with a mood disorder. For me, it is bipolar disorder, so mania and depression. It feels as though everyone in the world secretly knows my worst mistakes I've ever made in my life, and they're taunting me about it. These are secrets that could ruin my mental health if they were ever to be public. I've also been diagnosed with anxiety and depression and PTSD, currently on 6 different medications. Every time I'm in a room with a method to self-harm, sharps, ropes, something as simple as a screwdriver, my leg starts shaking and I sweat sometimes. My brain comes up with any reason to hate myself or imagine hurting myself and other people. I also hear voices and see demons. These voices don't want to hurt me directly because besides being mean to me and saying things like, "Stop crying, you're just trying to get sympathy, you should just jump off your roof," etc. However, they do want me to hurt myself. My psychosis has made my life a living hell. It's as if people talking in a public place is akin to demons gossiping about how I'm just going to end up hung from a rope or splat on the ground. I've had a demon tell me they were going to blind me while they wheeled a surgery cart into my room. I've had demons perform bloodletting on me. I have at one point thought I had died and became a ghost, and it seemed like only certain people could see me. I found a hole in the wall that I don't remember making. I have to constantly run from shit in my own head, and I'm hyper-vigilant often because I'm literally trying to figure out what is and isn't real around me. Like right now, maybe I'm not typing this. Maybe I'm smashing someone's head in. It's that slippery a slope. There's a lot more, and I'd be remiss to hit a part 2 filling all the details of lost love and all that sappy crap. Chat, let me know if you'd like to hear more. My biggest piece of advice is have open and honest conversations about drug use and mental health with your doctor. They can help you. Maybe not your doctor, but there is a provider out there that can get you what you need. Thank you for reading and listening. And then something he doesn't want me to read on stream. He has a YouTube channel and he wants me to look at it. Okay. Well, yeah, he's right. That was short. Yeah, I've never, thankfully, I've never had to interact with a schizophrenic before. So, for all I know, they actually do hear demons talk to them and shit. Which is, you know, too spooky for me. Oh, I forgot to end the poll. Okay, let's go to Flowey's story that he paid $10 for. Oh my, okay, he's got some big boy paragraphs in here. You know, I get that you're Flowey the Flower, like, from Undertale, but my old buddy Sai, that Sai guy, his, like, profile picture was him, like, holding the Flowey character. So whenever I see this, it makes me think of Sai. And maybe we can all imagine that this is actually Sai's story. Maybe. If that was real, I'm completely convinced. Yeah, he did not make it sappy or nothing. He was just listing off all of his mental illnesses and what it's like having them. So, you know, that's a peek behind the curtain of some true insanity. But we have Flowey the Flower, a.k.a. Sai, who submitted a story. Hello, Simian Jimmy. I would like to preface this by saying that this email is anonymous. Well, sorry, Sai, it's too late. I'm nobody, just somebody who really likes flowers is all. And Jimmy, if at any point while you read this you get an idea of who I am... Uh-oh. Oh, God, wait, really? You gotta be shitting me, dude. Do not say the name out loud. Are you implying I know you? Sai, should I stop reading it now? Is it too late? Please continue reading this fairly and indiscriminately. Okay. You know what? That's fine. Wait. I'm seeing the word YouTube in here. This cannot be fucking Psy. That would be the funniest thing that ever happened to me. Now on to the story. The reason I had to add that first part is because I believe I suffer from paranoia personality disorder. I am the milkman. My milk is delicious. There are 7 boxes to check for this disorder, and I check 5. 1, suspecting that other people are out to get them. 2, constantly concerned about the loyalty opinion of those around me. 3, reluctant to confide in other people for fear that said information will be used against them. 4, finding hidden or threatening meaning in ordinary messages. And 5, perceiving people as attacking their character. Now, I know listing symptoms for mental illnesses is tacky, but keep these in mind as I tell my tragic One Piece villain backstory, and you may notice parallels, since I don't believe I'm like this for no reason. I've been a loner my whole life. I'm very socially functional, but all the friends I make during school, I lose touch with once the year is over. Even the couple friends I am technically still in contact with, I don't talk to. I have roommates in college. I'm pretty sure Psy is college age. But I don't talk to them either if I don't need to. I don't even keep up with anyone from my family unless I have to, with the exception of my brother. I'm pretty sure Psy had a brother. During the day, you'd never guess anything was wrong with me. We all know that there's something wrong with you, Psy. Okay, I'm gonna stop doing that now. I'm just gonna read it. You'd never guessed anything was wrong with me, and even I didn't think I had any issues until literally an hour ago when I realized what my deal is. Whenever I pass by a person on the street, I can't help but get the idea that they could pull out a knife and stab me, and that I need to be prepared for the possibility of that happening. Of course, I am in college now, and that has happened a total of 0 times, so I have to keep telling myself that I'm crazy, and that I shouldn't think so little of my fellow man that they'd attack me for no reason. As for a slightly more justified trepidation, it's happened to me about twice so far, where I pass by someone walking their dog on the sidewalk and the dog will lunge forward and startle me. After it happened the first time, I started actively avoiding dog walkers, regardless of what kind of dog they had. So the second time it happened, I was actually expecting it, but it still got me and I awkwardly sidestepped into a bush. I often think that my brain operates on Murphy's Law. If something bad can happen, it will happen. When I was in kindergarten, I would have frequent fantasies where an object would be lowered onto the ground by a crane. But before it could be set down, the crane and the object would flip out like in a glitchy video game. Chaos, basically. Nowadays, these fantasies manifest themselves into thoughts of me doing things I absolutely definitely should not do. I might think I could jump onto the train tracks and then I'd have to figure out a way off or I would die. Someone could easily push me in front of the train, thus ruining both of our lives forever. I could tell this acquaintance the most hurtful things I can think of and permanently damage our relationship for no reason. I could walk into traffic and get hit by a car. Maybe I'd survive. These are the common pervasive thoughts that I have, and I never act on them because they're all terrible ideas and would only bring me grief/death. Most of my approaches to the world are based on past experience and education. The fear of strangers stabbing me may be caused by years of watching horror movies and scary YouTube videos that enforce the idea of strangers being dangerous, and that you need to have an eye out for suspicious situations to avoid being kidnapped. I've never been in a relationship because it's been imprinted onto me from years of cartoons and shows and personal anecdotes and just so many stories that when people fall in love, life then sucks. I got the impression that getting into a relationship was a waste of energy, time, and money, especially if you had kids. He's not wrong. So I never even bothered. Luckily, I am aromantic, so this does not negatively impact me at all. As long as I have entertainment, I am immune to loneliness. I would also like to clarify that I am not an incel, as I am alone by choice. It's called volcel or volcel. I've definitely had crushes in the past, I'd say about 5, but every time I was content to just do nothing and let the crush die on its own. I always followed the rules that I was told as a kid. No smoking, no drinking, no drugs, and no sex before the age of 18. That may be part of why I never pursued love during my teenage years, and if one Mumkey James Jones is to be believed, that was probably the right call. Yeah, I'd say so. However, despite the fact that I am now around legal age, I still feel the need to abstain from trying these things because I remain under the impression that they're bad. I'm also kind of super lazy, so it's no wonder I never did drugs and the like, since 1, it would have required spending effort, and 2, I was told not to. So I had no reason to spend the effort. I wasn't even curious, since I was also the type of kid who didn't even like most kinds of food, and trying new things rarely worked out. The realization struck me recently. I told my roommates about how stone cold sober I've been my entire life, and one of them told me that meant I was one of the rare kids who the schools and teachers actually got to, which made me think. I believe I'm a very impressionable person. I often imitate something until I forget where I saw it from, and then just do it anyway because it's an aspect of my personality now. I can't even imagine what I'd be like now if my childhood had been even slightly different. Nathan the Man says this is Cobb. I don't know if you've heard any Cobb stories if you think Cobb's a virgin, dude. From 5th grade through freshman year of high school, I started encountering a problem where I would turn assignments in late from time to time. There was often just enough time before or during school to do my work, so I would often procrastinate and do my work in the morning at home or at school because it was favorable to doing it in the afternoon after a long day of school. Doing all my homework this way worked out most of the time, but the few times it didn't, my teachers would send me to something called homework assistance. Either after school that day so I'd have to miss my bus, or before school the next day so I'd have to get to school early. That wasn't the bad part. The bad part was that when you're sent to homework assistance, they call your parents about it. So every time this happened, I then had to deal with the dread of coming home and being scolded by my parents for an hour or more, my mom mostly. That was an impossible situation. There was nothing I could do. If I said anything, then it would just last longer as she gets extra angry at my defense. I had no idea what would set her off. Meanwhile, I'm either crying or kicking myself under the table, or both. I'd like to say for the record that my parents never hit me or physically abused me in any way. It was all verbal. Think Malcolm in the Middle. I love thinking about that. It would often end with my mom sending me upstairs to my room when she was tired of screaming. And then I would just quietly think to myself about all the things she said that were unfair or wrong, and how this wasn't truly my fault at all, even though I had been made out to be the bad guy here. Hearing the words homework assistance was a death sentence back then. I slip up, they call my parents, they yell at me, I start to cry, next assignment, repeat. Oftentimes after I slip up, I would have my 3DS taken away, or I wasn't allowed to enter the den where the desktop computer was located, or I wasn't allowed to bring my iPad upstairs to my room. During those times where I wasn't allowed access to the internet or entertainment of any kind, I was probably the most depressed I'd been my whole life. My only source of comfort left was a series of children's books written by some guy who likes suing YouTubers. Though the name of it is escaping me at this moment, well, that's probably for the best. Because they were funny and the misadventures of the narcissistic main character were often relatable. In short, I needed to stay in line to remain sane. There was one day in 8th grade where I slipped up and I'll never forget it. It was reading class, and we had to read a short story and then answer questions on it for homework. At the start of class, the teacher asked us all to get out our work, and since I did the assignment, I thought I didn't have anything to worry about. Then, when the teacher got to my table, she reached for my assignment and then flipped it over, revealing another side to the page with a full list of questions that I hadn't answered. I was shocked. I had no idea there was another side. Then my teacher said, looks like we have to send you to homework assistance. And once she said that, I lost it. I broke down right then and there, desperately pleading for them to not send me to homework assistance. I was disturbing the other students, so I was brought to a side office in the classroom where I was consoled by a different teacher while my reading teacher continued with homework assistance. I was disturbing the other students. Oh no, I already read that. Reading teacher continued with class. I was crying and hyperventilating. It was the only time in my life that I actually couldn't breathe properly because I was so distraught. I was begging the teacher not to send me to homework assistance between all the gasping for air, and she started asking me questions. She asked me why I didn't want to go to homework assistance. I said it was because if I did, then they would call my parents. She asked why I didn't want them to call my parents, and I couldn't respond. She asked me again, and I said I didn't want to be yelled at, or I didn't want them to take away my iPad. She then asked me why I didn't want them to take away my iPad, and I couldn't answer again. She then threatened me by saying, and I'll never forget it, if you don't tell me what's on that iPad, then I can get one of the tech guys from downstairs to crack it open and find out what's on it. For context, back in 8th grade, having an iPad was part of the curriculum and was mainly used for schoolwork. Teachers would also randomly check students' iPads to make sure they had not downloaded any games or non-school related apps of any kind. At this point in time, I was just getting my bearings as an artist, and I was using a drawing app on my iPad to draw. I was also a big fan of My Little Pony Friendship is Magic at the time, and had drawn various art with ponies in them, all safe for work, by the way. Okay, thank you for the clarification. Liking My Little Pony was supposed to be a secret because it was very embarrassing for a boy my age to like the show. Oh man, if you think it was embarrassing in 8th grade, I've got a couple old friends who were much older. I gotta tell you all about them one day. I even kept the drawing app hidden on the 3rd page of a folder of my iPad just in case a teacher went through it, and it is still there today. Anyway, the prospect of having my parents find out about that was horrifying. So I caved and showed her my art and tried to exit the app when she got to a pony one. It occurred to me later one day that this teacher was actually bluffing when she said she could have a guy crack open my iPad to find out what illicit stuff was on it, and it still makes me furious how she manipulated me like that. After I had calmed down, the teacher told me she wouldn't send me to homework assistance. We had been talking for so long that my reading class had actually ended, so I grabbed my stuff and went to art class, which had already started. It was the last period of the day, so I was relieved. And then I got home and my parents called me upstairs. Yeah, so they didn't send me to homework assistance, but they went and called my parents anyway. So that teacher lied to me too. The ensuing conversation is a complete blur, but all I remember is my mom saying, "The ponies." At one point, which revealed to me that the teacher told her about that too. Oof. I couldn't believe the audacity on display. I was basically forced to reveal these secrets with the expectation of privacy, and then they were told anyway behind my back and against my will. Word of this never reached the ears of my fellow students, thankfully, but this was all such a massive betrayal. What it taught me is that if I'm not careful enough, then my secrets will be out, and anyone who knows them can screw me over. If someone knows something embarrassing about me, then there is nothing I can do. I just have to hope and pray that they don't tell anyone. I can't tell anyone anything because of the possibility that they'll use it against me. That year, 8th grade, was probably the most depressing year of my life. Near the end of the year, I was being crushed by the weight of having to do multiple projects all at once, not being able to summon the motivation to do them, which sprung me into some depressed behavior. I left class one time to go to the drinking fountain, and I broke down and stayed there for a few minutes, just tearing up and letting the water hit me in the face until the teacher had to send another student to come get me. There was another time when I just walked around the block multiple times, letting branches hit me in the face as I walked, until eventually my brother spotted me and told me to come inside. One time I even considered jumping off the roof of my house into the backyard. The windows of our house have screens attached to them so you can't climb out, but the screen on the window of my brother's room was removed, so it would be easy to get on the roof. And I probably wouldn't die from the fall, but I might break my leg. And then maybe, finally, everyone would stop being so harsh and show me a little sympathy, I thought. I didn't do that, of course, since it was a terrible idea and would have only brought me grief/death. During sophomore year of high school, I was put into a study hall kind of class so that I would have an extra 40 minutes every day to work on assignments. I had been telling everyone that my system works, I just needed more time. Why does it say Mumkey's back? Oh, you just mean in general? I thought the stream went out for a second, okay. I just needed more time. Then lo and behold, I entered this class and I never turned an assignment in late ever again. I noticed around this time that my parents would still yell at me on occasion, but since I wasn't flubbing my assignments anymore, instead it was about random stuff, like not brushing my teeth, not eating dinner, not wearing the right clothes, or not styling my hair the right way. My mom would often say she's just trying to have a conversation with me during these times, even though the conversation is really just a one-sided abrasive lecture. As I said, I have no trouble talking to kids my own age, and I never did. But when I had to talk to my parents back then, I was always really submissive because I didn't want to make them angry. Plus, we had nothing in common anyway. During sophomore year, my parents sent me to a psychiatrist to do some tests. You see, ever since 3rd grade, I've been criticized by my teachers for not paying attention. I never took this criticism seriously because whatever I wasn't paying attention to was typically pretty boring. A normal person wouldn't care. Also, my teachers would often use not paying attention as an excuse to be lazy and pin the blame on their students. My freshman year biology teacher would often leave out important information during lectures, thus prompting me to raise my hand and ask her either what the info was or to repeat it. And instead of telling me, she would say I wasn't paying attention and ignore me. After having this happen multiple times, it became so common that whenever I'd hear this, I'd assume the teacher was just shifting the blame onto me because they couldn't be bothered to do their job. No one was ever on my side, so I always just had to assume that I was right. Otherwise, there was no explanation for what was going on. But my parents didn't see it that way. They took it at face value. They heard the feedback that I had trouble paying attention and saw how quiet I was during dinner, and therefore assumed that I was like that 100% of the time and that I had ADHD, which I do not. And so for 3 days, I met with a psychiatrist after school to do tests. The psychiatrist's room was this dingy apartment, and there was a light fixture in the room that was always flickering, which I pointed out multiple times because it was distracting. That was part of the test. You fucking failed, dude. That was part of the test. When we began, she made note out loud that I hold my pencil irregularly. So do I, my friend, so do I. How do you do it? This is how I hold it. I know it makes no logical sense, but fuck it, it works. Don't know why. Don't know why I don't just do this, TBH, but it's too late now. I'm almost 27. Which immediately signified to me that this person is here to study me. Anyway, tension dies down as I start doing memory games and puzzles and such over the course of multiple afternoons. When we were done, I was told that my intelligence or whatever was actually a couple years above my current age at the time. I was 16, but apparently I was as smart as an 18-year-old. Not the compliment you might think it is. 18-year-olds not famous for being that smart. Which shocked me. I thought that meant I did well and that I was totally fine. But then a week later, my parents got the results back from her and she officially diagnosed me with ADHD, which blew my mind. She even cited the flickering light, which would have bothered anyone. I think my cat was trying to break into the room. Poor Blaze. I think Blaze wants to come in, but not during Depression Chamber. During the few days we met, my walls had started to come down and I was beginning to trust this person, even telling her things about myself to prove I was a normal kid. But then this happens and I couldn't help but feel betrayed. I began taking medication after that, 1 or 2 pills every morning, experimenting with different doses to see what works. The pills did jack squat to me, with one notable exception. There was one dose I took for 2 days that made me feel very low functioning and tired-like. It's hard to describe, but I wasn't quite as sharp as I usually was. It was really bad the second day, and it was all I could think about while we were out at dinner, where I brought it up. We talked to a doctor about it, and he told us that the dose that had the biggest effect on me was actually the smallest dose I had taken. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. How? I later surmised that I must have experienced a nocebo effect, where by believing that the pills were harming me, they actually did, and therefore they didn't have any real effect on me. This led me to believe that I never actually had ADHD in the first place, and that somehow my parents had told the psychiatrist that she was testing me for ADHD, and that skewed her into saying I did have it due to the power of suggestion. I was fine. They were just out to get me. I have no proof of this fact, but it must be true, right? Telling myself that I was right all along and that they were all wrong the whole time is the only explanation that makes sense to me. I'm the only person I can trust. I am 20 years old now, and I have never gotten my driver's license because when I'm driving a car, I get very paranoid and nervous about messing up. I would have bad thoughts like, I could swerve into traffic and kill us all. I could drive into a building and permanently destroy the car. I could hit someone and go to jail. Very distressing thoughts that just made me even more nervous, like I couldn't even trust myself behind the wheel. My brother got into a bunch of car troubles as a teenager. One time he hit another vehicle with our old van. Another time, someone hit him while in the old van and we had to retire it after that. And the third time, he swiped the new van when entering the garage and we had to redo the paint job. My family has never let him hear the end of these automobile misadventures, which made me incredibly worried that if I too messed up while driving, then I would never hear the end of it either. There was one time during the summer where we were all heading home from dinner, and because I needed practice, my parents let me drive. When we were almost home, we had to go down a jammed suburban street with cars parked on both sides of the road. The pressure was on for me to not mess up and swipe the car on one of those other cars, so I was being very careful, albeit nervously. But then my mom, who was in shotgun, started knocking on the right window to tell me I was too close on the right side, but from what I could see, I was as in the middle as I could be, and I wasn't swiping any cars, so I tried to ignore her while the bad thoughts creeped in again as I veered slightly to the left. But as I continued, she just kept knocking and knocking, and every time she did, it made me wince. I think I nervously told her to stop at one point, but then she got mad at me. Incredibly stressed out, we made it back to our garage without swiping any cars at all, and I exited the car to let my dad handle parking. As my dad and brother stayed in the car, my mom and I went into the house so she could yell at me, while I meekly had nothing to say. I don't remember what she said, but at some point she tried to deflect her angry tone by saying, "I'm just trying having a conversation, as usual, which made me reply, "This is not a conversation," while avoiding eye contact. That was the scolding I got for not screwing up the car. I could only imagine how bad it would be if I actually did. I needed to hit a minimum amount of hours to get my license, but my parents didn't force me to drive all the time like I had expected they would. Instead, they just kind of forgot about it, and because I hated driving, so did I. I was a little relieved though my brother still teases me from time to time about how I never got my license. I've learned to go through life trying not to care what other people think of me. During high school, since I never had anyone to hang out with, I always just went to school and then went home. Whenever it was my birthday, I wouldn't invite other students to a party like I used to, and instead it would just be me and my family. Prom came and went multiple times and I didn't even notice. Eventually, my mom had to start arranging for me to hang out with other students so I wasn't just a loner. Those few I was arranged to hang out with are the friends I'm technically still in contact with, by the way, since they're the only other students whose contact information I still have. Whenever I meet someone, I almost never introduce myself, and I never bother to learn the other person's name either, since chances are I'll never see them again. It always feels awkward to say my own name, and I'm often caught off guard when I hear someone say it, or say it myself, as if it doesn't belong to me. Even when I'm playing an online game and someone just says my username, the next thing they say always sounds weirdly personal. When I was a kid, parent-teacher conference weekend was always scary because I never knew what my teachers would tell my parents about. And it happened more than a couple times where my mom would get home and the first thing she'd do is shout my first, middle, and last name in an angry tone. Nowadays, hearing someone important talk about me always makes me a little queasy, like my very existence is under harsh messages. My very existence is under fire. It's especially bad online, since it's hard to interpret the tone of text on a screen without a face or voice attached to it. Polite messages sound neutral, neutral messages sound harsh, and harsh messages sound furious. One moment, please. Fuck. If I have the inclination that someone I deeply respect hates me, it just makes me feel sick. I've stayed away from social media like Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Tumblr, Snapchat, etc. Good. That's a great move. Throughout my childhood, since I was conditioned by my parents into thinking social media was cringe, they're right. Plus, I've never heard anyone I really wanted to socialize with anyway. Fair. Well, it worked out in the end, as I'm basically going into the internet with a blank slate. No one knows who I am and I haven't done anything wrong yet, which is why I'm so scared of the day that I somehow find my way into controversy. Why the fuck did you want me to read this then? Likely through some act of betrayal. Something I've noticed about most online controversies is that when they happen, because the creator's friends backstab them somehow. My mind immediately goes to Relax Alax, who was falsely accused of rape by his girlfriend, and Mumkey Jones, who was harassed and gossiped about by a wife beater and the wife he beat, both of whom were former friends. I've never heard of those stories. They sound interesting, though. The constant pattern of controversies bred from friends betraying each other instilled into me that having friends is actually dangerous because they know so much about you and therefore could destroy you so easily. All it takes is one rumor, one little post where they reveal your name to the world to see, one small story to make everybody turn on you. Why have a girlfriend or boyfriend when they could ruin you? Why have friends at all when they could abandon or turn on you? Now, a good partner and a good friend wouldn't do those things, I get that, but once you realize you have a bad one, it's already too late. And so even when I do start to grow close to a friend or acquaintance, I feel a natural inclination to distance myself from them out of fear of something happening. In essence, when you have more friends, it often ends with them stabbing you in the back, handsome Jack. I suppose it's some sort of poem. Going by a username on the internet really doesn't help me at all because it doesn't stop people from wielding my name against me. It's happened to me multiple times while playing Minecraft or on Discord where I say something seemingly innocuous and then all of a sudden the whole server is dragging my name through the dirt when I did nothing wrong. One time during sophomore year, I jokingly corrected a Minecraft admin's grammar. Let me stress, as a joke, I even said LOL after it, and the admin responded by teleporting me to a jail contraption above lava with all of the valuable, irreplaceable items I was holding at the time, and threatened to drop me in for like a whole hour. What the fuck? Or at least that's how long it felt. The jail was cramped and had commands applied to it, so I couldn't possibly get out, and the floor was attached to pistons wired to a lever outside, so anyone present could kill me if they wanted. Basically, the entire server was invited to witness my misery while I begged and pleaded with them to let me go, and that I didn't break any server rules. I've never played Minecraft like that. Is that how it usually goes? Because that sounds pretty fucking funny. Meanwhile, the admins worked together to get the pistons working to drop me into the lava, and eventually did. They pulled a nasty trick where they moved all of my items out of my inventory and into theirs as I fell, so even though my items weren't lost, I still experienced the despair of losing everything. Which put my heart in my throat. Okay. All the while, the admin I pissed off kept calling me by name, asking me if I'd learned my fucking lesson and if I was still having a tantrum. But you need to look up the wise words of Tyler, the Creator, who once said to just turn the damn computer off. Something along those lines. Their exact words, and I had to submissively type yes with tears in my eyes in hopes that they'd free me. Okay. It was such a cruel, horrible, traumatizing experience, all because I wrongfully thought this person could take a joke. I wanted desperately to call them out, to tell them to fuck off for harassing me like this, but fearing what they'd do if I showed even a shred of dissent, I kept quiet. I had so little power that I wasn't even allowed to be angry. A month later on, that same server, the server owner held an archery event that I attended and specified that this event had no risk of death, so we were free to bring our items. Uh-oh, don't fall for that one again. Then when the event started, Flowey's in the chat defending himself, I think. I tried leaving, I was permanently jailed unless they let me out. Okay. When the event started, I accidentally broke a rule because the owner forgot to specify that we were supposed to shoot one at a time, so the owner killed me on the spot and called me an idiot, which not only stung, but also contradicted what he said about there being no risk. Then when I warped back to the archery spot to get my stuff back, the owner jailed me in that same jail, which gave me flashbacks, and when I tried asking for my things, the owner muted me for 20 minutes. After the time was up and I got out of the jail, I found that all of my items had already disappeared forever, and I was struggling to understand how even the server owner, who I thought was reasonable, could be so harsh so suddenly. I just don't know what's going to set people off. Whenever someone gets mad at me, it's always out of nowhere. I've often thought that if I just had one person on my side whenever this happens, then I'd be fine, because then I'd know I'm not crazy for saying I did nothing wrong, but that rarely happens. On the internet I've experienced, people can just turn against you on a dime, which makes me really paranoid about saying anything out of turn, for fear that I'll incur someone's wrath and they'll start scolding me while I'm too meek to respond. It feels like I'm walking on eggshells, and I've grown to despise the type of person that lashes out like that. As a result, I'm horrified by the idea of anyone learning anything about me. Then why the fuck did you write this? And pay me to read it? Whatever. Mods, do not ban him. He might commit suicide. Don't ban him from the chat. When I was a kid, I was a big fan of the Angry Video Game Nerd, and I watched his videos all the time. Then one day, my mom happened to walk in while I was watching his NES Ghostbusters review on the desktop computer, And when he dropped the F-bomb, my mom got super mad and yelled at me. From that point on, I only watched videos on the desktop computer while wearing headphones, and would pause whatever I was watching whenever my mom or dad would come in, regardless of what it was. When I got on my iPad, I also only used it while wearing headphones alone in my room, because I didn't want anyone to hear what I was watching for fear of what they'd say or think. Even nowadays, I reflexively hide my screen and exit out of apps when people get too close so they can't see what I'm doing. Eventually, I got the inclination that wearing headphones all the time was bad for my hearing, so I stopped. My brother constantly barged into my room, so I made a habit of locking the door every time I shut it, though he always just unlocks the door and gets mad at me for always locking it. I used to share a bedroom with my brother, and we would talk to each other at night until we fell asleep. But then in 5th grade, I got my own room, and at night I would just talk to myself instead, which was really just me saying my thoughts out loud. I often think out loud because it's the easiest way to organize my thoughts. Then around sophomore year, I started singing while in bed too, because I liked singing. Sorry, I ate way too many meatballs with my spaghetti and meatballs today, and they want to get burped back up, so I'm trying to hold it back for you folks, but I ate like 20 meatballs. Anyway, I was singing, but I was embarrassed about this, so I didn't want my parents to know about it, especially since I didn't join the school choir way back when, despite my parents wanting me to. I thought the walls of my room were soundproof enough that no one could hear me, big mistake. But I was still awkwardly told multiple times by my brother or my parents that they could hear me singing during the night, which always made me turn pale. And I would be quiet the next few nights out of fear. It started to seriously bother me, so I started running experiments with my iPad to figure out how soundproof the house's rooms were, just to figure out who could hear me, and concluded that no one should be able to, unless they were in the hallway or bathroom. So if I heard someone... Dude, just don't fucking sing! Just don't do it! Whatever. So if I heard someone in the hallway or bathroom, then I would stop singing/talking and wait for them to go back to bed. This paranoia over being heard, even when I think I'm isolated, also applies to my current living situation, as sometimes the person in the neighboring room will knock on the wall to tell me to shut up. Therefore, my ultimate dream is to live alone so I don't have to worry about other people bothering me like this. Throughout my life, I've garnered almost no enjoyment out of being around others. That's fair. I hate it when I go downstairs to grab a snack and I have to be cautious about one of my parents being in the kitchen and seeing me do it. I hate it when I'm audibly working something out alone in my room and my brother tells me he could hear me in there. I hate it when Stop fucking talking out loud! For fuck's sake! I hate it when I'm on Discord and someone just insults me out of the blue and gets away with it. I hate that. I hate how much other people can get away with when I can't get away with voicing even the vaguest hint of distaste. I hate that I can't do anything without fear of retaliation. I hate that no one is ever on my side. I've been shown so little sympathy my whole life that I've had to empty myself out so I'd feel nothing. Don't tell me that hurts less than a broken bone. I often take notes and write things down. After finishing writing this story, I happened to look at a list of fears of mine I'd written down and noticed some parallels. Authority, hell, failure, losing progress, animals, and knives were all listed, and cars is listed twice. I thought it was normal to have so many fears because I was told there's a lot in life to be cautious about. But I now realize that this is another product of the paranoia that's been building in me for 2 decades. I've wanted to write a story for the Depression Chamber for years, but I never could because I didn't think I had a good story to tell until now. Technically, I already submitted a story, but the story I submitted was just pompous, outdated drama that was the culmination of all my paranoia-filled tendencies. The prospect of Simian Jimmy reading it, even if the chance was incredibly low, had stressed me out for months, and I even considered paying him to delete the email during the next Depression Chamber on Sunday, May 29th, 2022. Okay. So that it wouldn't be read and potentially damage my reputation. I waited for hours and hours that night for the stream to go live, but then it was midnight and it dawned on me that the Depression Chamber was inexplicably delayed. Did that really happen? I don't even remember that. Did I really have one scheduled at the end of May? And I didn't do it? Maybe. Which just left me with this question of why I was obsessing over this so much. I looked up what the symptoms were for unhealthy paranoia, not expecting to find much, but then I found the symptoms to match my experiences to a T. I'd joked about it a lot in the past, so it was a world-shattering experience to find out that I actually am crazy. And apparently this particular disorder is impossible to treat because paranoid people won't open up to therapists. And I already have a bad experience with the sort, so that goes double for me. Even if someone were to hypothetically give me advice, I probably wouldn't be receptive to it. Well, you know, that's a good start, huh? As I immediately notice how it misunderstands my situation. Doesn't even apply to me, or just straight up doesn't make sense. I often have to tell myself things just to keep the paranoia down. I repeatedly remind myself that if something is beyond my control, then there's no point in worrying about it, which has driven me into a semi-amused, apathetic state. Like, I see something sad and I just say, ha, or that's funny, and move on, almost like it isn't real. I hear about atrocities going on in the world and I find myself struggling to care. I get a response from my professor telling me that the email I sent them hurt their feelings, and I just think, oh, I'm glad I made you suffer, asshole, ha ha. I'll never see this person again in my life, so who cares how they feel? They'll just forget about me eventually anyway, and only I'll remember, surely. Speak no evil, hear no evil. If my family had never told me that they could hear me singing at night, it never would have bothered me. So if I can prevent similar ills from ever reaching my eyes or ears by keeping people off my trail, I will. I'll lie and distort the truth as I see fit and embrace evil because good is not something I've been allowed to feel. I can't let anyone use what I say against me, so I'll create a web of lies to catch the flies on the web. I'll become as much of a ghost online as possible, always seeing things but never saying things. Become mute, drab, the milkman has completed his route. Do you guys want to split a cab? From Flowey, P.S. That's a Psychonauts reference. Wow, that's a good one. That was a fun story. For sure. Pretty cringe. I mean, why is everyone so against me? I can't imagine why. Flowey, that was great. Oh, Weekend Warrior, hey. You gotta be mod, my friend. Not gonna lie, kinda based and Joker pilled? Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. He's just a normal person if he upset a professor. I forgot incels are a real thing. This guy is literally Ryan Gosling. Where's Flowey at? I want to... he says, here it comes. What do you mean? What, it's a copy pasta? I mean, I hope it's a copy pasta because that was pretty funny. If it's a copy pasta, you gave me a good 40 minutes of entertainment, so I'll take it. Somebody sent me a story about a Mormon steak dance. You're laughing. Flowey got killed in Minecraft and you're laughing. Yeah, you can put yourself on timeout, Weekend. That's fine. Fade 4 says it's not a copy pasta. How can you know? For all I know, every story we ever read is a copy pasta. But, to be fair, even if it literally was copied and pasted, somebody somewhere wrote this, and they probably did mean it when they wrote it. So even if Flowey didn't mean it, I'm sure somebody did. Anyway, he's trying to lie to take the story back. He did end his story saying he's going to create a web of lies, so who knows what we can believe? He truly is the Joker. He has so many different backstories. Thank you for the donation, and thank you for the story, whether it was true or not. I'm not here to judge what reality is. I'm gonna catch up on the super chats and shit. Froggo says, groomed by a chick based. Froggo then says, we go from dads and kids bullying to metal demons. And Gasha says, I'm going to go Mad Max on that ass boy, going Mad Max on those cheeks in a Mad Max world, at a Mad Max time, at a Mad Max place, going jackhammer those booty cheeks, boy. Okay. Mick Sweat says, please read How I Became Known as the Molester. Alex Camp says, $20, thank you, Alex. Happy Father's Day, Simian. Thanks for the stream. Barrett Privateer says, I like the Drost effect on your monitor. Is that what that's called? And Mako says, Discord honestly scares me. People get mad that I'm so quiet, but it's because it's toxic. Yeah, that's true. People who are too active in servers are always dangerous. Also true. Also very true. Flowey says, technically I wrote it in my notes, then copied it to the email, so it is a copy. Shut the fuck up. Anyway, folks, I know I haven't done the Depression Chamber in 6 months. I last did it on Christmas. But I don't want to let you guys down like that again. You know, if you've noticed, I brought back Simian Jimmy's Treehouse podcast. We've done it 2 weeks in a row. Might be a record. And right now, to all 261 of you, I vow, same time, same place next week. I want to do 2 hours of this show every Sunday night, and we're rounding up to 2 hours right now, so probably not enough time to read another big, long story, but we'll have plenty of time next week to get 2 hours more in, so thank you for everybody for tuning in. Thank you, everybody who donated. And I'm going to hang out with the chat for a few more minutes before I hop off for the night. The last Treehouse with the old man was terrible. Couldn't finish it. Oh, I mean, I'm sorry you feel that way. I love talking to Randy. I think Randy's great. This stream is bigger than anything on Cozy. Is that a streaming platform? I don't believe you can do it. Hope you prove me wrong and make this weekly. I'm gonna try. I'm also gonna... I'm literally gonna try to also post weekly scripted videos on the Simian Jimmy channel. I've already got the first one almost done. Like, almost done. So, we'll see. Change it to 7 p.m. I mean, it's 7 p.m. for somebody. It's 7 p.m. Mountain Time. Just move over there. Flowey says, all jokes aside, this has been very comforting. Thank you. Okay. Where's Jeff Varner's story? Jeff Varner might come on the Treehouse podcast one day, but if you don't know anything about him, you can watch the clip that he got canceled for. It's on YouTube. Just search Survivor, Zeke, and Varner, and it'll pop up. Weekly scripted videos, yeah, right? Hey, I know. And when I fail, you can all make fun of me. I'm used to it. But I'm just saying, I'm gonna try. I'm gonna try. Flowey is a good fella. I agree. You know what, Flowey? You're mod. I'm making Flowey mod, so we'll never forget. Do we trust Flowey as mod? If everybody gets banned, I'll just unban them later on. Flowey, welcome to the mod circle. Nick Fuentes for Trash Rats 59. Yeah, I think we can swing that. There you go, Flowey. You got the power, my friend. I never told anyone my story from when I was voicing Graggle. Okay, well, send in your Graggle story for sure. Elliot Roger content when? Find a time machine and go back like 4 years. Is the Simian Jimmy Letterboxd account? Yeah, it is me. It is me, yeah. Yeah, if you guys have Letterboxd and you want to see my movie reviews, my name's just Simian Jimmy on there. Anything planned for the monkey box? That is one of the videos I have planned to come out soon. Probably going to start doing the weekly stuff in July, you know, but expect it. At the bare minimum, there will be one video because it's literally almost done. And if you want to see it early, I've been posting all my shit like 3 days early on my Patreon Discord server. So if you want to join that and hang out with everybody, it's patreon.com/mumkey. Join the server and then you can see all the podcasts and videos way early. Do a Texas shooting commentary. We talk about that on the Trash Rats that's coming out tomorrow. And I might wish death on some police officers. I don't know. We'll have to tune in and find out. Not even sure why people want shooting content when we've already got so many creators in America. Yeah, if you want school shooter content, turn on CNN. But I think that is it for this stream. Thank you again for tuning in, and expect to see a lot more very soon.